Hey guys! So today we're going to be making slime. So I just want to show you really quickly the materials we're going to be using. First of all, we use something called polyvinyl alcohol, aka PVA. It's in this bottle. We also are going to use some borax dissolved in water. Borax is just a powder. Some people use it to wash their clothes, but it's dissolved in water here. So we've got borax, and we're just going to be mixing them in a beaker with a glass stirring rod. And we're going to be making some measurements of those different liquids in these graduated cylinders. And we're going to be adding some food coloring to make our slime pretty, or maybe not pretty. So yeah, let's go ahead and goggle up and get started. Okay, so to make this slime, we're going to use about 50 milliliters of this solution, which is polyvinyl alcohol. And I need to open a new bottle so I can get a whole 50 milliliters in there. Okay, so that's about 50 milliliters. I'm going to put that in the beaker. And then we also use just 5 milliliters of borax. I'll need a pipette. All right, so I'm just going to measure 5 milliliters of borax. Okay, so there's my 5 milliliters of borax. This is just borax dissolved in water. And then just for fun, we're going to add some food coloring. So we'll make this blue slime. And then all I have to do is stir this up. Okay, and on the Google Doc, you can be making some observations. So I have to stir pretty vigorously here. And then as you can see, we're definitely forming some slime. If I stir long enough, eventually this starts to get to be more of like the consistency of silly putty. So it will get a little bit less liquidy as I stir it all up. Okay, so I want to go over a couple of the things on the Google Doc with you. So first thing you need to do is write down some observations about the slime that I just made in this box. So on Google Docs, you can just type that in there. And then in class, we came up with our own question that we wanted to test about the slime. But since you're doing this virtually, I'm going to give you the question. So here's the question we're going to be talking about, or we're going to be testing. How does adding different amounts of borax affect the consistency of the slime? So does more borax make it thicker, or does it make it more liquidy? Okay, next thing you need to do is figure out what the variables are in this question. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what they are, but remember the independent variable is what you are testing. It's what you're changing. So with this question, figure out what it is that we are changing. The dependent variable is what we're measuring. So we're not going to have a very specific like numerical measurement here, but what are we trying to look at in this experiment? What are we measuring? And then controlled variables are variables that we are trying to keep the same throughout all tests. So this might be things like we use the same beaker, we use the same stirring rod, things like that. So you want more than one controlled variable, but you should only have one independent variable. Okay, then come up with a hypothesis. So do you think adding more borax will make the solution thicker, or will it make it more slimy or more liquidy? And then I want you to write a procedure for what you would do to test how the amount of borax affects the slime consistency. So be very specific. Give me like specific amounts in milliliters. Do it step by step, that sort of thing. Okay, and then I'm going to do the experiment for you. And in the data table, I want you to record what happens with the different amounts of borax. So I'll tell you how much borax I'm adding in each particular experiment, and you can record that in this data table. Okay, so I set up the experiment already. In this beaker, I put 2.5 milliliters of borax solution. In this one, I put 5 milliliters. And in this one, I put 7.5 milliliters of borax solution. So we're going to start mixing these up now. I already added the PVA and the borax. And I'm just going to start mixing them up. Okay, we'll show you what they look like after some mixing now. So the 2.5 milliliters still has quite a bit of liquid. There's a little bit of solid in there, but lots of liquid. The 5 milliliter has more solid stuff in it. If I mix it up a little bit more, it'll solidify a little bit more. You can get quite a bit out of the beaker there. And then the 7.5 one is completely solid. I can pull the whole thing out. Okay, so hopefully you were recording some data in the data table while I did that experiment, and now the only thing left for you to do is write a conclusion. So write down whether your hypothesis was correct or not. If it's correct, you accept it. If it's incorrect, you reject it, and then give me evidence from your experiment about why you accept or reject your hypothesis.